I saw a post criticizing people for divorcing silently. Who are people out there that are just breaking up with people and leaving all the pictures of them on their social media? Is that a thing? Because even with regular exes, take that picture down. Like that never existed. Delete it, burn it. Low key is kind of funny. Like the idea that people can just swap out a nigga, like that's the same husband you've been with, is pretty hilarious. But saying it in reference to people that were very open and loud about their marriage, basically they're saying keep that same energy. But why? How presumptuous of you to feel entitled to my story. It is a privilege that you're let into any of this life. I'm saying this to this person, but really, I am that person. It's crazy because I was going through a divorce and I wholly understand how traumatic it is. It is not your right to somebody's grief, pain, or joy. I do understand, the highlight reel of social media and how dangerous that can be for others perceiving. If you're not able to see a person's highlight reel and still love yourself, that is a you problem. Nobody's going to care about you like you. And so you need to be careful about what kind of things you take in. Don't be barking and yelling at other people to show the bad parts of their lives so that you can feel better about yourself. Yes, social media is a highlight reel. When I look back at my social media, why the would I want to be reminded of the things that were bad in my life? Welcome back to Lex Talk. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alexis, and the purpose of this channel is to have real conversations about life, love, and relationships, because I believe that there's healing at the intersection of our testimonies. And personally, I think that my ability to speak and my willingness to speak openly and honestly in front of whole ass strangers is my superpower. And so I come on here in hopes that I can provide somebody comfort that might be going through a similar situation, just letting them know that they're not alone in all the difficulties that we face just trying to adult in these streets. And so, yeah, guys. I have been doing a lot of mental unpacking since my divorce was finalized. And, little disclaimer, even though I be out here just providing all these nuggets of wisdom, I am but a mere mortal. I am flesh and bones, honey. I am just a human like the rest of y'all, and I is flawed. And so, oftentimes I'm like whenever God reveals, the error of my ways, this may come as a shock, but I be fucking up sometimes. But anytime he reveals those things, I start to wonder, like, am I out here being irresponsible by sharing all my thoughts and theologies while they're clearly still under development, But sometimes gotta be good. Sometimes gotta be real good. And he be using his hands and feet to come and just remind me that I am exactly where I need to be. Basically his goal, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think his purpose for me was ever to be perfect. But me sharing my story, going out there and talking openly and honestly as I imperfectly strive for perfection is more what he wants from me. I think that is the purpose. And so sometimes you just have to silence all the hate in your head, which a lot of times be you. Sometimes it's other people, sometimes it's the devil, but a lot of times it's just your ass, and all the doubts, fears, imposter syndrome, that kind of hold you back from stepping into what you feel like God has purposed for you. And this is something that I believe that God has purposed for me. Because, although I feel like I do have, I'm wise beyond my years, the way that biblical wisdom is gained is through a process of like guidance. It's not, we don't get an answer key from God. We get like more of a guidebook of just principles to live by to kind of navigate through life situations. And the difference between like an answer key and a guidebook is that a guidebook has a level of, interpretation that's required to be able to live out those principles correctly. And you don't really know whether you're doing it right until you get the results back. And so, like, as a result, most of us are not like just kind of one and done, get it right on the first shot kind of people. Most of the time we, meander through this walk, and sometimes we go the right way and sometimes we go the wrong way, and we need a little course correction afterwards. And so me living my life in front of you, letting you see the good and the bad, letting you see the process of growing in wisdom is absolutely beneficial. I believe so. It is hard because I have to openly admit that I am not perfect, which is crazy to say out loud. No, I'm just joking. It's something that is always a little difficult at first to admit. And I will say I am the type, I'd rather not only recognize that I made a mistake, but find out what the solution is before I come up here. I haven't reached the space of vulnerability that I'm comfortable just saying I'm wrong and I don't know what to do kind of thing. I mean, I do a little bit, but for the most part, it's like I have matured past the person that I once was by the time that I come to y'all. But I still am at least letting you guys know, y'all, I was way off base back then. And so today, what I want to share, there's something specific that I want to share, but there's something that is along these lines that I want to discuss first. All right, so basically, in both of these situations, a lot of the things that I just knew to be true, honey, are just unraveling before my very eyes. And it's causing me to call into question, okay, like, all right, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? Where do I go from here kind of thing? And the first thing is the fact that I have been waiting 2 whole ass years to be able to vent about all of the raggedy ass things that I've had to endure during the process of this divorce. Y'all, I've literally been like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell. I can't wait to tell y'all, to kind of just vindicate myself. And now that I'm here, I realize that I am full of shit. I am full of shit. I am here, and now I finally get it. I understand why, out of all the people that have gone through divorces in my life and just in the world in general, why there are so few people that actually talk about it after the fact, that actually talk about what they experienced, what led up to it, how it's going, how it's been, like there are people that talk about it, but given the amount of advice and conversation around marriage and getting into marriage and relationships on the positive end, and the fact that somewhere over 50% of all marriages end in divorce, there's definitely a severe drop in the amount of discussion around the negative end. And it's because it's traumatic, bitch. Nobody wants to talk about that after they've already fought through the most difficult season of one of the most difficult seasons of their lives to get past it. They're just so happy to be done with it. They'd probably rather not relive it. And I'm able to say that because I am here. I am here and I get it. And first of all, I want to go ahead and apologize to anybody that I may have cause to feel any type of guilt. Well, you probably didn't, because you're probably like, bitch, shut up. You know nothing. But anybody that I may have felt cause to feel guilty for not being open and honest about their experience through divorce, not being chatterboxes about it, because you don't owe me nothing. And as I sit here today, fully divorced, I don't owe nobody a goddamn thing. Especially not my pain and not my trauma. Actually, I a, a couple days ago, I saw a post on social media that was basically like criticizing people for divorcing silently and then popping up with a whole new ass spouse, like it's the same person, which, you know, low key is kind of funny. Like the idea that people can like get divorced and just swap out a nigga like that's the same husband you've been with is pretty hilarious. But the part about this entitlement to somebody's story, and they were saying it in reference to people that were very open and loud about their marriage nuptials, that are now like basically they're saying keep that same energy. To which I would respond, but why? But why? Like, how dare you? How pretentious, how presumptuous of you to feel entitled to my story just because I let you in for a little bit. Like, my social media page is my social media page. I can choose to put up what I want. I can choose to not share what I don't want. It is a privilege that you're let into any of this life. You're welcome, bitch. And truthfully, like what I don't, and I'm saying this to this person, but really I am that person because I literally just said the same thing. Like, why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't you being open and honest and transparent? Keep that same energy. Like, this is saying to me also, bitch, shut the fuck up. You know not. But what I think is, and it's crazy because I was saying this as I was going through a divorce, and I wholly understand the process of it and how traumatic it is. But to others, I want to say, if I haven't said, I have said it, but I want to say it in this context. The process of a divorce, the healing journey from a divorce is grief. In much the same way that you grieve losing a loved one to death, that is the process. The same. You take the same steps, or for the most part, of grief. You take the same grieving steps that you would if you lost a loved one, because essentially you're grieving the death of your marriage, and in many ways, it is like that person died because you, without any well, maybe you have some warning, but it is still very sudden. No matter how much warning you kind of get, the moment that the decision is made to divorce, a whole lot of stuff ends immediately. I know for me, it ended immediately. That meant no more late night discussions. That meant no more booty calls or whatever you want to call it when you're actually married. But it meant no more like treating this person as though y'all are partners. You know, it is a breakup of the most severe nature, and it is pretty immediate for all intents and purposes. Tack on to that, sharing any kind of assets, having children together, pets together, whatever the case may be, you have to sever all of those things. Some may take a little bit more time to break those ties. Some do it quicker, but either way, the emotional roller coaster begins immediately. And so the same way, if somebody died, you wouldn't necessarily post, the process of grieving. You wouldn't necessarily post when you're planning the funeral or the wake. You might not post you crying in the shower when you're triggered by a picture or a memory of them. Like, that's not weird to not post those things. It would honestly be more weird to post it. I can say this in all like assurance, because even me posting videos about the concept of divorce is a little cringe to a lot of people, and I recognize that. So I try not to flood shit with it. I try to intersperse it with other content, but at the same time, I want to be true to the reason that I'm here, and that is to talk about the things that are not talked about enough, that people are struggling through silently. And so for somebody to, like, how, pray tell, do you expect somebody to keep the same energy on social media when they get divorced? Is it just a status that says I'm divorced, or can you not infer? But even if you had an answer to that dumbass question, it is not your right to somebody's grief, pain, or joy. Like, you are not entitled to it. Just because somebody posted those things when things were good, they have no obligation to post it when things are down. I do understand the school of thought of, the highlight reel of social media and how dangerous that can be for others perceiving that to be the totality of your existence. But I don't believe that the responsibility lies with the person that's posting things. I believe as consumers, it's our job to curate what we consume. If you're not able to see a person's highlight reel and still love yourself, don't consume it. Don't consume it. Because for all we know, part of it could be their real life. But even if not, you are not at a space where you should be consuming anything outside of yourself if it's going to trigger you into feelings of depression or unworthiness or low self-esteem. Like, I get it. It is frustrating to see these things sometime and be triggered, but that is a you problem. That is a you problem, and nobody's going to care about you like you. And so you need to be careful about what kind of things you take in. Don't be barking and yelling at other people to show the bad parts of their lives so that you can feel better about yourself. Like, also, and I say that very matter of factly, but I do know that it's easier said than done for some people. I myself am fortunate that I'm one of those people that's able to be happy for people, even if I'm not happy for myself. Even if my life isn't where I want it to be, or my looks aren't where they want it to be, I can look at somebody beautiful and be like, girl, you bad. I can look at somebody that is living their best life, happy and fulfilled in all the things that I'm not fulfilled in, and be like, I'm so happy. I love that for you. But I do know that that's just luckily how I'm wired, because I do know that it's a struggle for other people to celebrate somebody in the midst of things not going as well for them. But back to this idea, the highlight reel. Yes, it's a highlight reel. Yes, social media is a highlight reel. Why? Because when I look back at my social media, why the fuck would I want to be reminded of the things that were bad in my life? Like, I want to go on there and be like, you know what? My life has been kind of nice. If I just focus on the good times, it was pretty good, especially with Facebook and the way they like to do they goddamn strolls down memory lane. Hey, you remember when you and this the last thing that I want to see is me and my ex having a grand old time after I done been whole ass kicked out of his life. Like, no, I absolutely had to scrub my profile of all the memories that I could of him, or at least, pictures where he was actually in. But even if I wasn't doing it to avoid those awkward encounters on social media, who are people out there that are just like breaking up with people and leaving all the pictures of them on their social media? Is that a thing? Cause even like with regular exes, take that picture down. Like that never existed. Delete it, burn it, because my social media it's my resume to the world, and that is outdated. For one, I do think it's weird, unless you and your ex have still have a close relationship and are very friendly. Like, it's weird to have pictures of this person that does not want anything to do with you on your social media. Even if it was there before that happened, things change. Go ahead and update it, boo-boo. Like, just, what are you doing? But also another reason that I know I scrubbed my profile is because I was like actively like dating and stuff. Like, and I remember, it's a weird thing. You know how often I hand a prospective like romantic interest my IG handle? Like, it's super weird for them to go up and see wedding photos of me with some other nigga. Like, it's just, yes, although I can explain myself, it is just not something that most prospective love interests are comfortable seeing and dealing with. Like, it's one thing for me to have my daughter, or maybe even pictures of myself with my ex and my daughter would be, reasonable to keep. But just pictures of my ex and I, lovey-dovey anniversary pictures, like, bruh, like really sit down and think about what you're saying, because it absolutely makes no sense for anybody to do anything else. It really just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, I get it, because I literally just had this epiphany myself, and I'm going through the situation, which is wild. Like, read the room, Alexis. Read the room that you're in. Like, what? And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that, because I think that it is because I definitely had those thoughts prior to, like, of, oh yeah, you was real loud about being married, but now that you, like, y'all broke up, you ain't posting, like, to the point where it took me a while to post pictures of me in any relationship. Like, not even just post them, taking pictures. I used to dread taking professional pictures, because I'm like, as soon as we take this, we're gonna break up, and then I'm gonna be looking real stupid with these pictures. But now it's just like, girl, life is life. It was good then, it ain't now. Simple as that. Move on. All right, so I wanted to say that, actually, the reason for me bringing that up is I absolutely still do plan to talk about the divorce, but I'm doing it because I feel called to. And also, again, I be sharing my business. This is what I do. But I don't have the same level of petty, deep coursing through my veins like it was before. And so once I get all that pettiness out, I realize that I'm actually not that bad of a person, and I'm not looking to, like, crucify my ex or smear his entire name. And so basically, I kind of go back to the drawing board and remember the purpose for this channel, and that is to help people, shining light on the issues that are not discussed openly, that many of us struggle through silently. And so in keeping with that, I want to make sure that whatever I do share about this process, it's for edification. It's something that is going to help people navigate the tough times or difficult situations in life. And so any of the extra sauce that I would have put on top because my flesh was fleshing, or I was just being straight up petty, none of that, So yeah, I'm gonna be working on that in the next couple weeks. All right. So to the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about, y'all, is what life has been like in these single streets. Now that I am no longer trifling, now that I am fully divorced, and I don't have to give a disclaimer that, hey, technically married, but don't worry about that. It's old news. Things have been different, and not necessarily in a good way, not bad, but okay. So I was absolutely expecting things to feel different. I was expecting to feel free, feel whole, be able to, like, pursue relationships with intentionality. And I absolutely just feel judged. God has been rude. I don't appreciate it, but I absolutely need it. Yeah, I feel like a fraud, because so when I was dating prior to the divorce being finalized, I kind of moved with, like, more of a kind of carefree spirit, not necessarily wanting casual, but not being pressed. And so I thought that was just me, like, living my best life, really just comfortable in my skin. If I'm searching, or I'm trying to be found, whatever you want to call it, but I'm not trying to force it anywhere. And so whatever happens, we'll kind of see how it goes. Y'all, them was all lies. It was because I was not in a position to give anybody anything more, and subconsciously I knew that. It was kind of like knowing that my baggage is so readily apparent. Not so let me make sure that this is clear. I don't feel like because I am a divorcee that I'm, like, damaged goods. Like, I think I did feel that in the beginning, but now the streets seem to think otherwise. They don't think I'm damaged at all. Having a kid, don't think I'm the only person that did is, like, Kevin Samuels, but in the streets that I actually live in, it doesn't seem to be a deterrent, at least for the guys that I'm interested in, at least. So, or you know what, the ones that it is a deterrent for don't come across my purview, so it's a non-factor. But yeah, so I was not really able to give more because I saw myself as like Scarlet Letter while I was still actively in my divorce process. You know, it was too visible for me to feel as though I could just kind of, tuck it to the side like all the rest of the possible, character traits that you might have. It's like, yeah, I can be a little bit direct, sometimes more direct than you'd like. I'm a little bit married. Like, it felt like it was too big of an issue for me to just kind of, shove over to the side. And so because of that, subconsciously, I knew that I could only ask for so much, because how many men would want to deal with a whole ass married woman? Survey says a whole bunch of them, because I was never lacking. But I still felt that there was only a certain caliber of man that I could actually attract and keep, because technically, if it wasn't me, I wouldn't stand for it. I was not looking for a man that was married, and so why would I be expecting the man that I want to be okay with me being married? Now, granted, my situation is it was very clear, and if I had the opportunity to tell them the details, then everybody was kind of put at ease, because there were no lines to cross. Like, it was a done deal. It was just in the court system, and so I could reason my way through it with somebody, but I didn't just jump out the gate like everybody needs to just understand where I'm coming from. Like, no, I understood that it was a hard sell at best. And so, yeah, I went through dating with a kind of a casual kind of approach that I thought was just indicative of my, not free spirit, but like, I thought it symbolized that I had processed, that I was good, and I was just taking a very healthy, non-pressed approach to life and dating, loving myself, loving the skin that I was in, and taking things easy. No, bitch, because as soon as that divorce was finalized, all the pressure fell from the skies onto me, and I was like, it's like now I felt, oh girl, this is for real now. Like, at this moment, the people that you are entertaining, you have no excuse for playing games, Like, at this point, you are able to actually give the fullness of what you have to a relationship. And so you need to be choosing a little bit more wisely. Like, all these games, all this fluff, what are you doing? And it's not to say that I was not being honest or serious about the relationships or situationships that I was pursuing. But again, I think that mindset, it was sitting right there in the back of my mind, and it caused me to not really give fully. And truth be told, I couldn't give myself fully because of, not just, yes, I was legally married, so I could not go past a certain point. I couldn't actually really pursue a serious relationship with somebody without having to navigate the fact that I'm still technically legally married. But beyond that, my financial position or state was up in the air. I had no idea where the chips were going to fall as far as the divorce. And y'all, I spent so much monies on, lawyer fees and all these other extraneous fees, that I was hemorrhaging. I was hemorrhaging money, and I really had no idea how to sustain that like level of spillage, which then lent itself to a emotional and mental like instability, just constantly stressing for 2 years on end, about how long can this last? How am I going to do this? I can't do this for another 5 years. I can't do this for another year. I need this to be over. So there was a lot of stress that was added that meant whoever I was in a relationship with was going to be getting less than they deserve from me, period, point blank. And so, actually, I mentioned this before, I had people that cautioned me, or advised me rather, to wait on it and not really pursue a relationship until the divorce was finalized. And I am so glad that I didn't listen. Although I think that there would have been like having a healthy break is always beneficial. I knew the place that I was in and I knew why I needed it. But more importantly, when I tell y'all, that was the best like relationship internship I could have ever had. Especially at the age that I'm at now, and having a better idea of who I am, being a little bit more established, having kind of better set parameters to date within as opposed to when I was, 20 something. And basically I was able to kind of date so many different types of men that I was able to like really hone in on what I did like and didn't like. I dated different races, cultures, ethnicities, economic income levels, education levels, just different types of like love languages, things like that. So throughout the 2 years, I was able to truly discover the traits that I needed in a relationship, and not just what I needed from a man, but what I was actually able to provide to a man. Because up until that point, all I knew was basically the dynamic that my ex-husband and I had. And so it was super beneficial for me, in knowing that. But now I feel more obliged to kind of take all the data that I've collected and choose a little bit more wisely, be a little bit more sparing with my time and my intentions, to really like make something happen and stop playing around, playing all these games. And so through this, I have realized, again, post-divorce kind of reawakening, that I have a very unhealthy attachment to relationships, that has been causing me to stay in relationships or situationships after I kind of realized that it might not be best suited for me. And let me tell you, I can try to like psychoanalyze myself without any credentials, mind you, but I really do believe, they say everything stems from childhood, and I do believe that there's a lot that comes from it. But I think in particular, my parents' divorce had a lot to do with like how I equate relationships and stability, because it was just so very easy to see how unstable. Now, and I'm saying, when I use the word unstable, it's not just about finances. It's not just about possessions. It's about the dynamic, and it was very clear how unstable my family's dynamic was as a result of my parents splitting up. And then when I would go and I'd be at friends' houses that had a 2-parent household, the contrast was so clear. It was a stark difference. And even if that couple didn't have as much money as my family did, my family wasn't rich, but there were people that were poorer than me. When they had the 2-parent household, there was just a peace dynamic that contributed to the overall, I feel like, success of the home that not really present in my house. Not to say that my parents didn't do a great job at raising us and being there for us, but there was something that they just couldn't provide to us because of that split. And I know that I internalized some of this from childhood because it carried into my relationships as an adolescent, as a teenager, and beyond, in the form of, like, I was a serial monogamous dater. Like, I always had a backup nigga. Like, I was jumping from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. Like, my feet never touched the water of singleness, y'all. I always had a nigga on backup, you know? If I'm breaking up with you, yeah, I mostly did most of the breaking up. Every once in a while, I got broken up with. But most of the time, I was doing the breaking up, and I always had somebody on standby. Like, you gonna stay right here until I pull him in, you know, tag your it. It was a relay race in my life. I kind of just continued that process up until the time that I got saved in college. And then, you know, after that, for a couple years, I was single. I was on my own, just kind of growing in God, like understanding who I was, my worth, my value, and all this other stuff. And for that time, I didn't really date. I think I had maybe a handful of dates, maybe like 3. In that, it was a little over 2-year period. And then in my second semester of grad school, my ex-husband and I started dating. And we'd been, you know, together ever since. And so now that I've been, you know, thrust back into the streets, I feel like I have reverted to my, you know, my natural tendency to, I don't know, like, put relationships on this pedestal and kind of attach all these different things to them. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I associate, like I said, I associate relationships with stability and security and validation. Like, to me, like, being in a relationship validated the fact that I was being intimately cared for. And although you can absolutely be intimately cared for in a relationship, it's not necessarily the case, you know? Like, yes, I'm in a relationship with this person, but are they intimately caring for my mental space, my emotional needs, my well-being, you know? And you can be with somebody that's not doing any of those things. And so, like, recognizing that is something that I'm only recently stepping, like, during the time that I had gotten saved and was in my singleness, I was building all of this kind of security and stability in myself. But once I got thrust into a marriage, it's kind of like it didn't undo that, but you start to become very dependent on this. You start to get comfortable. And so it did undo a lot of that kind of self-building that I had kind of established in that kind of single phase of my life. But y'all, let me tell you how rude God is. Very rude, very rude. Don't like it. 0 stars, but also all the stars because he's God. But yeah, so basically God revealed to me that, you know, during this time, during this newfound life of singleness, I have been pursuing relationships from a place of lack, although I lack nothing. And so, yeah, you know, it's, you know, kind of a backhanded compliment, but, you know, I get it. Like, he's just saying that, you know, I have everything that I need. I just need to kind of step into who I am more fully. Like, I mean, I have the ability to take care of my financial needs. I am very active in pursuing growth mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like, I have all the things that I need to be secure and stable, and the intimately cared for part that comes with a viable relationship, you know, with somebody that is also stable and secure and all those other things. And so basically, I'm a pretty confident person, but apparently most of that confidence is on the outside. But internally, I think there is some kind of disconnect where I know these things about myself, but somehow I don't really live it out all the way, like for real, real deal Holyfield. Because maybe there's something that I'm not quite trusting about it. And it might stem back to the childhood years of internalizing being in a relationship equals stability. Even though I have all the things that I need to make me stable, to make me secure in myself, to make me okay, there's still just this random fleeting thought that seems to be kind of controlling some of my moves and making me act in a way that it isn't aligned with who I really am. And so yeah, what I want is a relationship that provides security, stability, validation, and that's good. Those are good things. Those are things that you want to be present in a relationship, right? But I think pursuing those traits, pursuing those things by way of a relationship is a flawed approach. I think a better way to do it is to pursue those things, security, stability, validation, individually, and then pair up with somebody that is also pursuing those things individually. And ultimately, I think that's the difference between a partnership and codependency, because in a partnership, both of you are basically pillars in your own right. And in the event that one of you is going through a time of turmoil, the other one can usually pick up some of the slack and kind of float you guys until the other one gets on their feet again, Whereas in a more codependent relationship, you're kind of both depending on each other to perform at your highest level consistently, which leaves absolutely no room for error, because if one of you fails, the entire relationship fails. It breaks, It's like always in this strong tension of, I need you to bring that 50%. I need you to bring half of that rent. I need you to bring half of those emotions. I need you to fill in for where I lack. And they're both asking that from each other. And ultimately, nobody's able to actually give grace, because you're both so tensely stretched. And so, yeah, I'm recognizing that although I'm pursuing these relationships, right? And I was at least, pursuing them from this space of lack, meaning I still had all the things that I needed, but I was putting this emphasis on the relationship as though getting in a relationship with somebody would mean that they would come and provide all those things for themselves. Whereas I should be vetting them to make sure that they have all the same qualities that I'm pursuing, that I have been pursuing and still am pursuing in myself, making sure that because again, it's just a mindset thing. Although I was looking to these relationships for these things, I absolutely had them in myself. But prioritizing the relationship above the individual growth meant that I was aligning myself with people that may not have attained that individual growth that I need to be able to truly provide those things in a relationship. Like, you can't provide security to me. You can't provide stability to me if you haven't provided them yet for yourself, And I'm too busy focusing on getting in a relationship that I'm not vetting things properly. Or I am vetting them and I'm ignoring the fuck out of those signs that are saying, nope, not there yet. Nope, not there yet. Nope, not gonna work. Not what you're looking for. In my mind, it was like, oh no, but if we get in a relationship, those things don't come. We can do it. No, you might be able to do it, but your partner can't, which means as a unit, y'all can't. And so, yeah, I'm having to really, the hard part about that means that I'm having to sever ties forcibly, meaning I've already gotten in too deep and I don't want to have to do it. But the way that I work is, once I know better, I kind of have to do better. And so now it's like, all right, how do I roll things back and start to apply the principles that I know to be true? How do I make sure that I am aligning myself with people that are striving to be basically whole on their own before I, link ties with them? forever and always. And so, yeah, it's a tough transition because I'm not gonna lie, being responsible isn't always as much fun. It means that there's a lot more alone time. There's a lot more reflective time. There's a lot more restraint. And I am not one to deny myself many things. But I need to, in order to make sure that I am not setting myself up for failure down the road. Not to say that it makes the situation fail-proof. Relationships are tricky. There's a level of risk that is inherent in all of them. But there are some risks that I know about. So why the fuck am I taking them? Like, girl, you already know you already know how that goes. That's not even a secret. So what is you doing? So anyways, y'all, I am trying to be better. I'm trying to do better at this whole relationship thing. I make no promises because the heart won't what it won't. But I am very well aware that the main person that I'll be hurting is my damn self. And so I am trying very hard to try to make sure that I am doing myself justice by vetting people properly and not, running away in these fancy free ideals of a relationship solving all of my problems. So anyways, yeah, guys, I have a couple other things that I want to discuss. Really, like, I definitely want to discuss the whole, like, Danae Jackson thing. Triggered. And I was surprised because I was like, I identify with her how, Sway? But yeah, maybe I might do a little quick clip about my thoughts on that. But it was a very interesting interview, for sure. Interesting interview. There was something else I want to discuss. I don't remember. But anyways, thank you guys, as always, for rocking with me. If you are on social media, please check me out at is_Alexis. That's ISS_Alexis. No E, no I, double S. And if you listen to podcasts, check me out anywhere that podcasts are found at Lex Talk. That's LEXTLK. And I can't wait to see you guys in another video. All right.